Game Week 6 is officially in the books, and it's time to look forward to Game Week 7, and I have you covered. We can have a look at the disaster that was my wildcard in Game Week 6. I've got your differentials to boost your rank, and last week, FYI, the cartel was peddling the exact same players like Ilian and Dye, who literally performed to what I expected, a massive, big, fat 2 points for him. Tarkowski 1 point as well. I mean, let's be honest, they might have got the Gabriel pick right, but my God, some of the other picks went spectacularly bad, and I'm glad that I dodged those bullets on my wildcard draft. But this week, I've got you covered. I've got very good differentials again this week. We'll hopefully cover you. So I've got literally 2 videos mixed into one. It's my early reactions with my differentials. It's going to be packed. I don't know how long it's going to be, but hopefully it's fantastic. Again, if you like the content, make sure you smash a like on the video. Leave me a comment with how your game week finished off. And sure you weren't unlucky like me and had Jared Bowen stuck on your bench. I mean, that just topped off the epic week that I had. And if you haven't already, please consider subscribing. And I'll be back also today. If you want some UCL content, I'm going to a UCL deadline stream today because I'm on wildcard and match day 2. So keep an eye out for that. That'll be going, actually, it'll be scheduled very, very shortly after I've uploaded this. And that being said, let's get into it. So how did the team go in game week 6 in the end? And look, let's be honest, it wasn't overly flash. And look, to chop off the bad luck, and I talked about the unlucky luck that I had last night, right? In my video I did yesterday. To top it all off, I had Jared Bowen with 9 points sitting on the bench. He outscored the entire team except Haaland in terms of like what he actually scored. The next closest was Semenyo and Senesi with 7. Jared Bowen and Mukiele, I literally have another 19 points on the bench this week. When you think about how many points in total I got this week, 37, and had 19 on the bench, it feels kind of rough. But again, it all literally came down to the fact that Phil Foden captaincy did not go as I expected, and it is one of those things, but I'm going to sit there and I'm going to take risks like this season because that's just how I play the game. I'm not a boring FPL review user or a Solio user. As I said before, like lots of people literally come on to look at content to tell them what to do. I'm never going to sit there and tell you what to do, but I do watch the football, and normally my insights are pretty good. My differentials this week, FYI, last week were amazing. Like, especially in the midfield, they all literally returned. I had Anthony, Minte, Doku. I can't remember who the 4th bloke was. I think the 4th one didn't return, but the other 3 were all amazing, and they don't look good again this week. And look, I will cover them again today because they were so good, and I think moving forward, they're still going to be really good as well. And obviously the forwards. Lots of people disrespecting my boy Jared Bowen. How he's dropped to 7.7. The dude is now the 3rd top scoring forward in FPL. I can guarantee you the cartel are not going to be peddling Jared Bowen. They don't really rate him for some weird reason. They're all about the João Pedros, the Gyökeres, and all these other players that are going to be front and centre. Jared Bowen continues to get the job done. And I think under Nuno, he's just going to be a great option moving forward. I can't see any reason not to get excited about having him in the team long term. And yeah, other than that, I mean, it was, ironically, I was expecting a massive red arrow going into tonight's game, like this morning's game, and it was only a very small red arrow. I only went from 7.5 to 7.6 mil. So all things considered, 37 points, bit of a disaster in terms of how the actual team went this week. But moving forward, it does look pretty good. And let's be honest, let's put a wrap on Game Week 6. It's time to forget about our wildcard and look ahead to the future. So my score predictions from Game Week 6, how did they go? Well, Man United 4-0 over Brentford was an absolute horror show. It ended up being Brentford 3, Man United 1. And let's be honest, I keep on getting Man United wrong, so maybe don't follow my advice on Man United. Chelsea versus Brighton, that was a game where I think it would have finished 1-1 if there'd been 11 versus 11, but that red card completely changed it. Chelsea were leading 1-0 at the time. Brighton came back, scored 2 goals post the 90th minute as well. So look, it is what it is. I was close to actually getting that score prediction right, but it wasn't. Leeds versus Bournemouth. I've got the Bournemouth score right too, but Leeds actually scored 2 and that ended up being a draw, so I got that one horribly wrong as well. I didn't think Leeds were actually going to score, and they were very good value for the draw there. Crystal Palace did get the win against Liverpool, so I got that actual correct result. Liverpool did score, and I tell you what, that was a really dubious goal. Also, why was the assist not given to Mo Salah? Because it clearly touched his hand, and I'm not sure why that wasn't ruled out. I don't know. Maybe I was slightly under the weather at the time when I was watching it. but I swear that it looked like he touched his hand. If it touched his hand under letter of the law, it should have been ruled out, but for some weird reason it wasn't. Man City against Burnley got the result right, the score wrong. Burnley did score, and it ended up 5-1 to Man City. Nottingham Forest versus Sunderland. I had the actual score correct. It was just to Sunderland instead of Nottingham Forest. Nottingham Forest continue to disappoint across the board. No good. Spurs versus Wolves. Spurs can consider themselves very lucky they got a draw there. Wolves were very unlucky not to win that game 1-0, but alas, they conceded a last-minute equaliser. It was 1-1. Aston Villa versus Fulham, the very first score prediction correct of the season, 3-1. And if there's ever a team that you want to play to get yourself in goal-scoring form, it's Fulham. They are a crap defence, and I don't want to hear anyone tell me otherwise because they're rubbish. Newcastle versus Arsenal was a very tight game, ended up finishing 2-1 to Arsenal based on a very last-minute thing. And Everton versus West Ham, I called that correct. It was a draw. It wasn't 2-2 though. It was 1-1. So I did all right there in terms of that this week as well. So one of the card calls the game week system. My God, the card just continues to ride some ridiculous luck most of the time. So Xavi versus Kudos, it did get that one wrong, but it was only by 1 point. Minte took care of and died very easily. That was an easy coverage, let's be honest. Raya versus Donnarumma, a dead heat. Vardiol versus Gabriel. The card picking Gabriel instead of Vardiol. I mean, like, come on. Come on, that is ridiculous. Also picking Haaland over Foden. The difference in point swings there on the late mail this week were godlike. So if you actually took the card's advice and went Gabriel and Haaland over those two in those two particular calls, how well you fared this week. Unbelievable. Congratulations. It did get it wrong in João Pedro versus Bowen though, and that's probably the biggest swing against the card during this season so far. Bowen with a big 9-pointer, João Pedro with a 2-pointer, and then the others, Gyökeres versus Isaac, a draw. Cunha versus Mbeumo, a draw. So I got 3 correct this week, 3 draws, 2 wrong. Taking overall season tally now up to 26 correct calls, 11 draws, and 11 wrong. So it's covering the draws and the wrongs by double at the moment. Unbelievable. How long can it continue? We'll check in. Game week 7, let me know what you want to see in the cards calls this week. So the best 1 week punts last week were horrible. From the differentials, just want to cover them because I'm doing differentials and my game week sort of review, preview, all in one thing today. Horrible. Tarkowski didn't get the DC points for the first time this season. Got booked, conceded, 1 point. Fantastic. Phil Foden, that close away from hitting a goal and probably getting a 10-pointer, and then he got booked for dissent, conceded, 1 point. Fantastic. What could have been on another week for Phil Foden? Cunha, pretty anonymous in this game, let's be honest. Man United were pretty poor going forward. Other than Šeško, he was pretty good, but Cunha was pretty invisible. No good, 2 points. And then Richarlison, I mean, the service to him in this game was near on non-existent, so I don't know what he was meant to really do, but yeah, he only got 2 points as well. So my 1 week punts this week for the second week in a row were god-awful. Hopefully this week they get a little bit better. But yeah, remember, it is a gamble. It's just literally a 1 week punt, and I'm trying to pick players that are not stupidly owned by everyone. So game week 7 of my early reactions. So even less clean sheets than last week. I can't believe it. There's only 1 clean sheet this weekend, and it was to Sunderland of all teams. One of the promoted teams, the only team that kept a clean sheet. That is unbelievable. After 2 weeks ago, we had half the league keeping a clean sheet in 1 game week. Attacking returns for defenders are showing that maybe the DC points are not the only way, and we only have to look at some of the players. Senesi obviously got DC, but he did get an attacking return. We had Rodon getting a goal. We had Old Durate getting a goal. Obviously, these guys also got DC points as well. Then we had Gabriel with a goal as well. The goals and the assists this week were back in focus. And yeah, I think maybe if we're going to keep on getting no clean sheets, maybe it's actually better to go back to the attacking defenders that are showing some signs of life. And it's great to see, let's be honest. There were signs of life for Aston Villa, finally getting a result, scoring goals. There was also a bit of life for Wolves and West Ham. Improved results this weekend. And I think good signs for things to come there. Obviously, the change in managership from Potter to Nuno, I think will be great for West Ham moving forward. They should become a much better defensive team, and I reckon they're going to be a team that we target for transfers very, very quickly post this Arsenal game this week. Red cards again changing games, or the lack of them. So Collins really should have been sent off. Arguably, Gabriel should have been sent off as well in that Newcastle game. because I don't know why these are getting missed by VAR. Like, it's there to prevent this kind of nonsense from happening, and then intervenes in Chalobah, and I just think all three of them were red cards. But yet, in reality, there was only one given, and the fact that the others weren't given, it all changed those 3 games. If the red cards had been given, it changes those games, and because they weren't, it also changed those games. Very different story. If VAR, honestly, they just need to get more consistent. I don't know how they do it, but there's got to be something that changes, because the lack of consistency is killing the fun of the game. Because you just sit there and you go, it just changes from game to game. Whoever's in charge in that VAR booth is just, it's like if they've got FPL players in their team, there's no red card. If they don't have them, it's a red card. I don't know. It could just be making that up, but it definitely feels like some sort of conspiracy theory at this point. Luck. I don't think there was ever been a more swingy week in terms of luck this week. If you took a bit of a gamble this week, it either paid off massively or it just absolutely failed flat. And again, that's just part of the game. I think that's why I enjoy the game so much, was because of the fact that it is a lot luck-based. And sometimes when you get all that luck in one week, oh my God, it feels amazing. When it goes against you, it can knock you a little bit. Blanks. Yeah, there were some bad blanks this week, let's be honest. The margins as well. This week, we saw like the likes of, as I said, and Mbumo winning that penalty, Bruno missing. All of a sudden, that's a 15-point swing pretty much. 12 or 15-point swing, whichever way you want to look at it. Then, Estev robbing people of goals that were literally going to be goals. Again, the margins here are ridiculous. But it's just one of those things. There's inevitability. We know that Haaland's always going to return. He's in form at the moment. It was a little bit naive, potentially backing against him, but the reward was on offer. And Foden is a man that looks like he's in great form, and the way that normally Burnley played, I mean, it took Haaland till 90 minutes to score a goal. I mean, Phil Foden, if Steph hadn't got there, would have scored within 10, 15 minutes, whenever it was. I can't remember what time of the game it was. Again, exciting games, and there was lots of goals again, and that's all I ask for in the football. Exciting games and goals. We don't want ball fest. We don't want nil-nils. Also, maybe it's time for the rest of the FPL community to start showing some respect to my boys, Joof and Bowen, because now they've got a different manager in, they're only going to get better. And Jared Bowen, as I said, is now the 3rd top scoring forward in the game. How good is he? He's the talisman for West Ham. He spoke amazing after the game as well. And Joof, now up to 4 assists for a defender. That's literally 2 every 3 games. That's unheard of. I mean, he's still behind some of the DC beasts, but if he keeps that record up, they're eventually going to start keeping clean sheets, and Joof's going to then be in the bonus points with these assists. He's got a wand of a left foot, and I think a lot of people are sleeping on him, and yeah, I just think he's going to be great. Those 2 are definitely the West Ham assets you want moving forward, I think, as well. Leeds Sunderland continue to show that they are a real chance of staying up. I actually think that they will stay up. Based on what I've seen early doors, their defending is actually pretty good. They are scoring goals as well. Leeds' attack is probably not as good as Sunderland. I think Sunderland are definitely a lock. I mean, I don't even remember the last time a playoff team actually stayed up in the Premier League, so I think they've got a real good chance of changing that narrative this season. And Ange Ball is in danger of not getting off the ground. There's been no new manager bounce at Forest at all, and they're still looking for their first win. It kind of reminds me when Ruben Amorim came in at Man United last season. What's happening with Ange Ball coming in at Forest? I am concerned. I don't even know if he's going to last that long based on what I've seen so far. Forest definitely look like a team that are heading south very, very quickly. I don't think they'll get relegated or anything like that, but they are in trouble of being quite irrelevant this season. Managers under pressure as well. Manchester United, Ruben Amorim is under huge pressure. I actually don't think there's a world where he survives if they don't get a win this week against Sunderland at home. And Chelsea's manager, Maresca, I don't know. I feel like he is starting to mount under some pressure as well, just based on like some weird in-game management and team selection issues that just feel a bit off. Let's be honest, those 2 of the managers I'd be keeping an eye on moving forward over the next few weeks. So my transfer watch list for Game Week 7, and I don't intend on actually making any transfers this week, and we'll talk about that why when I show you my team before we get into the differentials. But there are some players that I've added to my watch list and removed. So obviously I bought a bunch of these players in that were on there last week in my wildcard. Now, I know I sold Juve on wildcard, but he's straight back on the watch list because if he keeps on getting assists like that, there's no reason not to be thinking about him. I've got Julian Timber and Calafiori on there instead of Gabriel and Saliba. The main reason why is the price. And I just don't think that they're worth investing more than what they are. And I think Timber and Calafiori will play almost every week, and they'll get subbed between 60 and 70 minutes, which could work perfectly for getting that clean sheet, which is essentially why you're buying Arsenal defenders in the first place, is for the clean sheet bonus. And you've got more chance of getting it if you're getting a sub early than waiting till the 95th minute, where, you can always concede these late goals. Vardiol, Tarkowski and Richards all stay on there. They're all pretty good picks moving forward, I think. In terms of the midfielders, I obviously sold Sarr on wildcard, but he returned with 11 points. And the only reason why I sold him is because of the fact that we haven't seen Palace weeks on end in Europe. And I know they're unbeaten and they are amazing, and Sarr is an amazing player, but I want to see more before I go back there. Rice, I think, could actually be the best Arsenal midfielder to buy. 6.5 million. He's consistently getting assists. He's in my bus team as well. And let's be honest, he's actually killing it this season and getting quite a few attacking returns as well. Enzo continues to get the job done. He's back on the watch list. With Cole Palmer out, he's just a bit of a no-brainer. Anthony, 4 goals in 6 weeks. He's going to be talked about a bit later on as well. Minte and Eze both stay on there as well. And then the forwards, the only one that comes into the watch list is obviously Jared Bowen leaving because he's now back in my team. And Thiago comes in there. I mean, it's hard to look past him. He's been great value at 6 million. 4 goals in 6 games as well. There's a lot to like there moving forward, I think. So how the team looks for Game Week 7 before I make anything else. Now, I know that should say Game Week 7, but it doesn't. And obviously there's a few numbers missing there. But essentially, the overall rank, 7.6 million is the key one there, 267 points in total. But the team this week actually doesn't look too bad. And Chalobah was always going to go to the bench because he was playing Liverpool at home. So that was easy. Jared Bowen is very stiff to remain on the bench, but he is going to be staying on the bench. Again, I'm betting on a double defence. This week, I'm going to bet on Newcastle with Nottingham Forest coming to play them at home. They just haven't been up to the races, and I think hopefully that will be 2 returns there. And I'm going to play Krejci over Mukiele. I don't know. I just feel like he's attacking threat, and I think potentially this might be a week where he might get a little bit of luck against that Brighton team. And then obviously we've got the Senesi, Semenyo, Foden, Reindeers, and Haaland. And then the Pigeon stays for 1 more week before he probably moves out in Game Week 8 from the entire team. And Bruno and Mbumo stay this week as well. Amarin needs a result, so you'd have to hope that they score a few goals this week and look a bit better. They can't look any worse than they did last week, so let's hope that's correct. Maybe the early kickoff affected them, who knows. But yeah, and Phil Foden's going to remain captain. He's got an amazing record at the G-Tech. Look it up if you're under any threats at all. But he scored a hat-trick there, and he also scored a brace there last year, so I'm quite happy to give him another go and roll the risk this week, let's be honest. So onto the differentials part of the video now, and differentials are Game Week 7 with literally the entire cartel last week, pushing the likes of Ilian and Dye and Anderson from Fulham. I covered a bunch of low-end absolute gems last week that absolutely fired straight off the bat in Game Week 6, and I think will actually outscore the blokes that they were talking about last week. And can I crack the code again in Game Week 7? You guys will have to let me know. I'm going to share you a bunch of differentials very shortly for each teams. Now, the teams with good fixture runs coming into effect now are Leeds, Spurs, Bournemouth, Chelsea, Everton, Arsenal, Man City, and Brighton. Brighton going on an amazing run of fixtures now, so definitely a team to be interested in, I think, moving forward. The fixtures I would be personally targeting, though, this week are Bournemouth versus Fulham. Fulham's defence is just rubbish. There is no way you shouldn't be targeting that defence. They concede literally in every single game they play, and they've looked awful against Villa on the weekend, I thought. Man United versus Sunderland. Again, I think that is a fixture you can definitely target. I think Ruben Amorim really needs a result, and Man United are really good at producing results before international breaks when their manager's under pressure, so back them in there. Villa versus Burnley again. I think Villa now back in form. They hopefully will score some more goals there against Burnley. And Leeds versus Spurs. I don't know who you should target out of that fixture, but I think playing Leeds and Spurs players is perfectly fine on that fixture, and I think they're the ones that you really want to be attacking on. And lastly, maybe it is time to start focusing on attacking defenders again, because we've seen the last few weeks, if there's no clean sheets, it does pay off to go for those attacking upside players moving forward. So the fixture difficulty rating for Game Week 7 to 12, and look, Arsenal go straight to the fixture ticker, the top there. I mean, it's a bit of a no-brainer. They've literally got no bad fixtures in sight for the foreseeable future. The hardest one is actually probably the North London derby, but that's in Game Week 12. Leeds obviously stay in the exact same spot. Wolves, they also stay in the exact same spot. Newcastle now up to 4th on the fixture difficulty rating for me. I've got Tottenham in now at 5th instead of 1st. Man City go into 6th. Sunderland stay pretty much where they were. Brighton are the big moves up. They go up into the 8th spot. Chelsea, they stay where they are for this week, but they'll be moving up next week. Bournemouth, they drop down quite a few spots based on the fact they've got a couple of harder fixtures coming. West Ham are due to move up after this week. Man United stay where they are because I don't know what to make of them as a team, and they're literally slap bang in the middle. Everton, I haven't moved them. Nottingham Forest have dropped down. I don't really rate how they're playing and their fixtures. Let's be honest, if it wasn't for the Leeds fixture, they'd be close to the bottom. Brentford stay where they are. Aston Villa also stay where they are. And then we've got Burnley. They're moving up from last up until 4th last. Crystal Palace and Liverpool stay where they are. And Fulham goes down into last spot. I know they've got some nice fixtures post-game week 10, but the next 3 for them are just not ideal, and I don't see them getting any points from the next 3 weeks. So on to the goalkeepers for this week. And look, there's only one change. So Pope stays in the first spot, Petrovic stays in the second spot, and Henderson stays in the 4th spot. None of them kept clean sheets this week, and obviously all their stats went slightly north in terms of expected goals conceded. They did have difficult fixtures, let's be honest, other than Petrovic. Pope obviously had Arsenal, and Henderson had Liverpool, so you'd expect that from a hard fixture. But they're all really good underlying numbers, and per se, I think Pope, Petrovic, and Henderson all got a save point this week as well. So that's something to keep in mind. I'm pretty sure Henderson did. I could be wrong on that one. But the one that is coming in is Roofs. Now, a lot of people, when they do wildcard, but maybe there is a play to go back to 4.5 million rated goalkeepers. Now, on wildcard myself, I went with Pope and Petrovic last week because of the fact I was going to spend 9.5 going for Raya and Dubravka. And I thought, actually, when I bench boost, it'll be better to play Rope and Petrovic. Probably going to get more points, and there's a chance for a double clean sheet. Whereas Dubravka, it really only allows you to play your bench boost probably in game week 8. Otherwise, the fixtures don't look overly fabulous. But you could potentially go for a Roofs and Petrovic partnership. Now, you can see that they kind of rotate pretty well the next 6 weeks, other than obviously game week 11, where Petrovic has got Aston Villa away and Roofs has got Sunderland at home. But it does also allow you a few other weeks there to play your bench boost if that was something you wanted to do and you were looking at wild carding, and you could go for that. And I don't mind that. Roofs has been really good. 3 clean sheets from 6 starts is pretty damn good for a promoted team. And I just think that Sunderland are being massively underrated. And I'm jumping on board, and quite a few of their assets actually feature again this week. So on to the defenders this week, and it's a brand new 4 defenders featuring in the differentials this week. Dan Burn comes in at number 1. 4 clean sheets in 6 games. He was one defensive contribution off getting the 4th lot of DC points for the year. Highly frustrating because he ended up on 0 points, whereas he would have ended up on 2 if he'd actually got that last one. He just couldn't quite get it done, which was just one of those things, unfortunately. But we roll and we go again, and we just hope for the best. But look, the underlying numbers for Newcastle's defence is elite. 4 clean sheets in 6 games. They haven't had the easiest starts, but now the fixtures really open up for him, and you can probably back him in every single week. And Eddie Howe loves him, so you don't have to worry about him getting rotated. Now with Livramento getting injured, he seems like the no-brainer if you're looking for a Newcastle defender for me. 6.4% ownership. I reckon that's probably going to go above 10% very, very quickly. Rodon, he comes in at number 2, 4 million, only 4.9% ownership. Again, Leeds' underlying numbers this season have been unbelievable, much better than I thought. So obviously he got the goal on the weekend, so lots of people are going to be talking about him this week anyway. But he's got 2 clean sheets from 6 games. Again, pretty good for promoted teams. The underlying numbers, though, is amazing. 1.22 expected goals conceded means that Leeds' defence actually hasn't been that bad. And if it wasn't for that Arsenal game in game week 2, they'd be looking even better than that. His DC contributions per 90 is also very good, very close to that threshold every single week. So you're going to get a lot of points from that as well. And he's a bit of a no-brainer. 4 mils feels like a dirt cheap price to pay for him. Now, FPL Nightmare. Your boy is back on the agenda. Mateus Nunes looked amazing for Man City in this game against Burnley. 1 goal, 1 assist, back with a bang. 12-pointer actually in this game. No one's really covered him at all. 0.4% ownership. And I think potentially there's no reason why he won't get another game this week. I would find it very hard that Pep dropped him after a performance like that. And with Brentford away and Everton at home to come, I mean, he's a cheap way into that City defence if he gets a start. As long as you got good coverage like a Rodon or a Mukiele or something like this on your bench that's going to come on and get those DC points, I'd roll him on the field. I think he's great. I actually think he is. I think he could definitely get attacking returns the next 2 weeks against Brentford and Everton as well. And he's just a really nice differential. And that's what the differential is all about. People that are not getting talked about by anyone else. And hopefully I'm uncovering a few of these guys for you this week. And then Mukiele, he's also in my team, 4 million, 1.6% ownership. He's got 2 clean sheets from 4 starts. He's got 3 DC contributions from 4 starts. And he was one off getting 4 from 4 in this game. Even though he had a slight positional change of Ballard coming back into the lineup, he was still almost there for the defensive contribution. So that's very good news moving forward. Again, expected goals conceded pretty good then when he is playing 1.34. And as you can see there, defensive contribution points per 90, 12.75. He also covers actually pretty good attacking threat. XGI of 0.1 is pretty damn good for a defender as well. And I'm very happy to have him in my team. And yeah, there's just so many good 4 million options this year. You really probably need one of them in your defense moving forward. So on to the midfielders this week, and there's only one change to what I covered last week, and that's James Garner. 5 million. Now, lots of people have Kevin Dewsbury Hall, right, who's now booked and suspended for Gameweek 7 because he's got his 5th yellow card in literally his 5th game for Everton. It's hilarious. It's hard to believe, actually, when you think about it, but James Garner, I think, is going to be great. 2 clean sheets from 6 starts. He's obviously got 1 goal and he obviously got the assist against West Ham. He's had DC contributions 3 of the 6 games. He's very unlucky not to get it in the other ones as well. I think he was 1 shy in one of them and then he had 9 in the other 2 games. So not far off. And he's averaging 12.17 a game. Now I don't know if his position will change, but the good news is Kevin Dewsbury Hall's out the next game. So he should be really good value again. Expected goals 0.07, expected assists 0.09, but he's just got a lot of routes to points. He does have a really good shot on him. He had another good chance in this game here that forced a good save out of Areola in the game as well. I just think he's great. And then the other 3 blokes are the exact same 3 I had last week, and there is no reason not to share him again. Anthony continues to get the job done. 5.6 million. He's up to 4.6% ownership now, and he's up to 4 goals and 1 assist from 6 games. For 5.6, is there a better 5.6 million midfielder in the game? I'm not sure there is. And I think if I had my time again on wildcard, maybe I'd get rid of Reinders and go for Anthony just because of the fact that he looks so good. And he plays 90 minutes every single week and you don't really have to be worrying about rotation. He's never getting the DC points. He's just at that weird threshold just below where you really need him to be. But the attacking returns is where it's at. And he's been getting the job done. He's high up on those midfielder points tallies, and I think he's going to continue at the rate he's going. And Doku, 2 assists in this game. I mean, the difference between Doku and Foden last week was stark. If Foden gets that goal instead of a Stev, he's probably on the same amount of points as Doku, but he didn't. And Doku got 2 assists, looked really good. That's now 4 assists from 4 starts, 3 clean sheets. I mean, the assist threat's ridiculous. 0.32 expected assist per 90, and he increased his goal threat in this game against Burnley as well. And I just think he'll be great. There's no one taking his spot while all the injuries are out, and they're probably not going to be back until after the international break. So again, if he continues to nail his spot down, he's obviously risen in price 0.1 from last week, but he should be great value again moving forward, I would think as well. I've actually got him in my UCL Match Day 2 fantasy wildcard draft as well. That's how much I rate Doku at the moment. And then Minte, 5.9 mil. He comes on an amazing run of fixtures. He got another assist. He's just going to be great value. 0.29 expected goals per 90, 0.18 expected assists per 90. With that run of fixtures, Wolves, Newcastle, Manchester United, Leeds, Crystal Palace and Brentford, he's just going to consistently get returns. Again, you don't have to worry about European football and getting rotated. If he keeps the form up, doesn't get injured, he's going to continue popping along. And he's clearly showing that the second year at Brighton, he's going to kick on. And I think he's going to be a massive, massive differential until people cotton onto him. And then onto the forwards. And look, we've got 3 different forwards this week, but we've got my boy, Jared Bowen remains again. He is the number 1 best differential forward you can buy. He is the 3rd top scoring forward in the game. Why people are not going there, I don't know. Now, I didn't update his numbers by accident. It's actually 6 starts now, 3 goals, and his ownership is about the same. He's still on 7.7 mil. His numbers actually went down a little bit in that game in terms of expected goals and expected assists. But again, he's just going to be great value. With Arsenal away, obviously that's not the best time to be buying him, but post-Arsenal, it's Brentford, Leeds, Newcastle, Burnley, Bournemouth. You could see him scoring in every single one of those games. Like for 7.7 mil, no rotation risk, plays 90 minutes, not in Europe. He's just brilliant, man. Jared Bowen, I'm so glad that I bought him back on wildcard. I just wish that I'd sold Watkins instead of Bowen early doors because then I might not have even had to wildcard last week. Let's be honest. Thiago, he's also really good value. 6 million, man. He's surely going to rise in price pretty soon. He's now got 4 goals and 6 starts, which is fantastic stuff for Brentford. And again, outside of the Man City and Liverpool at home fixtures, and remember, they are both at home, so potentially they might get a little bit of reward there. The other fixtures are not too bad for Brentford. So I wouldn't be overly concerned about that. Again, if you're just thinking about an 8th attacker, don't want to spend that much money, Thiago's a really good option. I think, provided he doesn't get injured, he's going to be amazing value at that price for most of the season. He's going to be a bit like Wissa last year, I reckon, the longer the season goes on. You heard it here first. Then at number 3, it's Sheshko. Man United's run of fixtures, in reality, other than game week 8, is actually pretty good. Sunderland at home, Brighton in 9, Forest away in 10, Tottenham away in 11, and Everton at home in 12. Now that he's got a goal as well, obviously I forgot to put his damn goal in. That's annoying. So yeah, he's actually got 1 goal now from 3 starts. He boosted his expected goals per 90 to 0.4 and 0.04 for expected assists. I think this is his moment where he's going to start really coming into his own, and I quite like him. Voldemada makes it back into the list again this week as well. 7.1 mil. He's risen obviously once in price, looking like he'll rise again very shortly. Again, 4% ownership. He's scored 2 goals from 3 starts since he's moved to the Premier League. So he started with a bang, but his underlying numbers aren't overly fabulous. Only 0.24 expected goals per 90. Significantly less than some of the other players that I've featured recently. But the fixtures for Newcastle, other than Man City in game week 12, look amazing. So why wouldn't you go there? And with Wissa still being out, we don't know realistically. We do expect him back for game week 8 around that time. But Waldemade's got off to a hot start. Why would he not continue playing? So again, I think he's great. Yeah, the forwards this week, they just look pretty damn good on paper, I think. Pretty damn good. And lastly, on to my Game Week 7 best 1 week punts. Now this is, I don't know, I've literally gone a little risky here. I've gone Matty Cash. Burnley at home screams potential for a clean sheet. Now, he has looked actually half a decent attacking this season as well. 0.1 expected goal involvement per 90 is not bad. Obviously, 1 goal already a couple of weeks ago now. Unfortunately, it's only 1 clean sheet, so that doesn't scream much confidence, and only 1 DC point. But I'm just going for the fact that they're playing Burnley, and I do think that is a fixture to target, and I think potentially Matty Cash will finally get my defenders up and running this season for the best 1 week punts. Phil Foden features for the 2nd week running. Now, obviously, I covered Doku again, and maybe I should have swapped it around. But you can't look past Phil Foden's record at the G-Tech. He scored a hat-trick against Brentford last season in the Premier League when he had the shocking of all seasons. He scored a brace there. So it's a place where he likes to score. He likes playing on that ground. And let's be honest, he owes me. He owes me big time for last week. So I think realistically, this man will heed the call and he'll show up to the D-Unit rescue. When I've put the captaincy on him again for the 2nd week running, he is going to deliver. So I'm backing in my 1 week punt there. And then Brian Mbeumo in what could be his 2nd and only final week in the D-Unit's team, I'm backing him in as well for a big performance. He was close to getting a return. Unlucky that Bruno missed the penalty. But maybe if they win a penalty in this game, it'll be Brian Mbeumo that takes it. In that case, he could be an amazing 1 week punt this week. So I'm backing him in based on that. Because surely Bruno missing 2 and 3, there's got to be some sort of pressure there behind potentially giving it to Mbeumo to take instead, who also has an exceptionally good penalty record. And then I've gone with Ollie Watkins this week. He's down 8.7 million. He's down under 10% ownership now, which is insane. But he's off the mark. 8 points for the people that held him and showed the faith in game week 6, unlike me. Burnley at home screams goals, and I think Ollie Watkins is going to deliver. He is definitely the best 1 week punt for a forward this week. Outside of Haaland, but look, everyone's going to have Haaland this week, so it's not really a punt. People that are punts under 20% owned, they are the best 1 week punts, I think, this week moving forward. So that brings me to the end of my Game Week preview, Game Week 6 review, my differentials of Game Week 7. It's been a mixed video because of the fact that it is a Friday night deadline this week, because obviously Bournemouth versus Fulham is on Friday Night Football. So it'll be a Friday night deadline stream. So I had to morph these videos a couple into one. So tomorrow we have a transfer tips game. On Thursday we'll have my team selection, and the late mail this week will be out on Friday morning, first thing, about 7 o'clock on Friday morning. Keep your eyes out for that one. But I'll be back tonight with a UCL fantasy wildcard draft deadline stream. Make sure you join me for that. I'll put it up very, very shortly. If you enjoyed that, please smash a like, leave me a comment. And if you haven't already, smash that subscribe button. I've been FPL D-Unit, and I'll see you later tonight if you're playing UCL Fantasy.